Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with a fun video, the first in a new series I think of videos, and I'm super excited about this. The idea for this came to me inadvertently from my friend Andrea over at the Cat Lady podcast. She does a knitting and craft all the things podcast, and she, without realizing that she had done it, gave me this idea, and I'm super stoked because I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So how this came about was, because I just love a good backstory to things, is that over the holidays she did Vlogmas, and in her Vlogmas she ended up buying a wine calendar, like a wine advent calendar. Now I am not a wine drinker. I like a good Zinfandel every now and then, but I don't drink a lot of alcohol. I much prefer, if I am going to drink, it's more a craft beer. I'm a craft beer kind of girl, to be completely honest. And I liked watching it because it was nice hearing about all these different types of wine. And I really loved when she was reading like the descriptor on the wine itself. It would talk about, you know, this pairs well with fish, or what tea that, or not tea, what cheese this goes well with, and things like that. And that got me thinking about things. And I thought, well, I wonder like what else she would do that with, because you really do it with wine. Like it seems to be a big thing for wine aficionados, that it's, you know, this wine goes great with this food stuff item. And I got thinking about tea, because tea is my favorite. For beverages, I drink tea and I drink water. That's pretty much it 98% of the time. I indulge in one coffee in the morning because I do like having my morning coffee. I more prefer having my coffee creamer. It just so happens it goes in the coffee. And I do very rarely have a pop or a soda, depending on what part of the country you're from. And I do occasionally have a drink, but it usually is a special occasion. And it's not because I have a problem with alcohol. I don't have a problem with alcohol at all. I just can't handle it as well because of the medications that I'm on. So I try and steer clear so I don't mess up, you know, any of my meds and, you know, cause anything to get thrown out of whack, essentially. So yeah, but anyway, tea is my thing. Obviously, my channel name is Steeped in Books. I love tea. I drink it every day. I have literally a cupboard devoted to tea because that's how much I love it. And to also say off the bat, this video is not sponsored in any way by David's Tea or any other tea company. Although, if they are totally interested, I am available. I see some other booktubers get the Sips box, and I'm like, oh, that looks so good. But anyway, I am a huge fan of tea, so it got me thinking about pairing tea with other items. Like, are there certain teas that you would drink with certain foodstuffs? And then I took it one step further and I thought, what teas would go great with what books? You know, because tea to me, no matter what season it is, because you can have it both hot and cold, like in the winter or the cold months, you know, a nice warm cup of tea is always thoroughly enjoyable, especially now in January, February, March. But then in the summer, a good iced tea is always delightful, and I just love that. So that's where this idea was kind of born from. So essentially what this is, it's going to be a very fun way for me to be able to give you guys book recommendations. And I, for each one of these episodes, if you will, I'm calling them episodes because I thought that would be kind of fun. For each episode, I'm going to focus on a different tea and give you 3 book recommendations to kind of go with that tea, if you will. If you guys have any tea suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. Just as a side note, it's not going to be like green tea, like a green tea, this is what goes with this green tea, or this black tea, or this, you know, rooibos tea, or whatever it happens to be. This is definitely going to be product or company specific. For example, for this first video, the hot chocolate tea from David's. So this will be more brand specific or company specific, individual teas that company makes, that I happen to have in my cupboard and I think will be fun to pair with books. Now, that being said, if you guys have any suggestions, if you guys have, you know, tea that you love, you know, and it's something that I might be able to get my hands on because I need to try it and drink it and see what I think about it. I know that sounds weird, but you know, I can't just kind of go off a descriptor. I'd want to see what I think about it, because not only am I giving you book recommendations, I'm giving you tea recommendations as well, in a way. So yeah, if you guys have any, let me know in the comments below, because it's kind of a bit of a fun challenge for me as well to, you know, go through my cupboard and find these teas and be like, okay, what books would absolutely go with these teas? So yeah, hot chocolate is the very first one we're going to start out with, because it is probably in my top 3 of favorite teas. I have a container full of this in my cupboard. I don't know if it's specific for, it only comes out at the holidays. I'm pretty sure it's still available. If it is still available on the David's Tea website, I'll post it below. I'll leave you the link. I'm absolutely certain that it is. I'm pretty sure it's a now a year-round tea, because so many people love it, or at least available in the winter months, so you should be able to still get it. But this is so good. If you guys like hot chocolate, seriously, this is a tea you need to try. Like, just sitting here, it's that hot chocolate smell, that rich, creamy hot chocolate. It is delightful, and it's a great way, if you are a hot chocolate lover, to be able to enjoy hot chocolate with 0 calories. Unfortunately, though, no whipped cream. So, you know, if you really want to indulge, go get a hot chocolate from Starbucks. But if you're just sitting in on a cozy night and you want a nice tea, definitely try this one. So I pulled out the little, the package I had from my David's Tea calendar from last year, from 2019. I drank half of this because each package gives you 2 servings. So I drank half of this the day that I opened it, and the other half I just made now. So it says on the front, it's a rich, fudgy, and indulgent. So that's kind of fun to go off that descriptor. What books would I recommend to go on that? But I actually took it a different way. For hot chocolate especially, to me, it's like a warm hug in the wintertime. And I know that sounds goofy to some people, but it's true. Hot chocolate, I mean, takes us back to our childhood, takes us back to, you know, being warm and cozy in the house after playing outside in the snow. You know, that warm and cozy feeling, which is what I was going for with these book recommendations. So let's jump into the books, you guys. I am so super stoked. So the first book I want to recommend, and what I tried to do was I picked 3 different genres, if you will, or 3 different, yeah, I'd say maybe different genres. 2 of them are romance, but they are from literally different time periods. So I hope you guys like this. Anyway, the first book I'm going to recommend is an older book. I read this one more than 10 years ago, I think. But the reason it has stuck with me is because it was the very first book I ever read by Susan Wiggs. And this is a book that I just love. This book, it just epitomizes winter for me. There are very few books I find within contemporary romance. A lot of books are written around the holiday season, but very few can you find that are written like after the holidays, unless it's Valentine's Day. But those books that take place in the wintertime. And the funny thing is that winter doesn't actually officially start till like 3 days before Christmas. And then you've still got 3 whole months of winter. And like I said, unless it's geared towards Valentine's Day, you don't see a lot of books that are like written in the January time after the holidays, when the snow is really starting to fall and when it's really starting to get cold. But this one absolutely works for it. And I don't think I've said the title yet, you guys. The Winter Lodge by Susan Wiggs. This is the second book in the Lakeshore Chronicles series, and this is the story of Jenny. And I don't want to say too much again, and I'm sorry, because it is the second book in a series, but I do recommend that you go ahead and read Summer at Willow Lake as well. That would be a great one over the summertime. That is in my top 10 books of all time. I love that book so, so much. But The Winter Lodge, I read it. It was the first book I ever read by this author, and I read it perfectly fine as a standalone. She is in a way related to the main character from the first book, Olivia. I'm not being vague because I want you to read the first book. I'm being vague because I legit can't remember at this point. But this deals with her relationship with the local cop, the local sheriff. And at the very beginning of the book, her house burns down. Is it her house or her business? I can't remember. But again, sorry for being vague, you guys. I should have remembered more before I sat down to film this. Bad booktuber. So I do remember this book though, because it takes place in the wintertime, and it's that warm and cozy feeling that you get from this book. There is a secondary plot involving a girl by the name of Daisy and her friends, and how they run across a body while they are like hiking, like ice climbing, not far from from where this town of Willow Lake is. The entire series is set around the Finger Lakes region of Upper New York State, in case you're curious as to where the location is. But again, you know, this book has stuck with me, and I think I reread it maybe 6 or 7 years ago, but the first time I read it was more than a decade ago, and I loved it. And this is the book that made me fall in love with Susan Wiggs and made me like love her work. So I absolutely recommend this one. It is a nice, cozy, sit in front of the fireplace with a cup of hot chocolate or hot chocolate tea and enjoy, because this book is utterly delightful. The next book I want to recommend is also a romance, but this is a historical romance. It's actually an anthology, which are so much fun. I do really love anthologies, especially for the fact that it kind of lets you read authors that you may not have read before, along with reading authors that you're really familiar with. And I picked this one up a couple years back because I was super familiar with the top billed author on this book, but not so much with the other 3 authors. So this is an anthology of 4 different books, and the anthology is called 4 Weddings and a Sixpence. And the authors are Julia Quinn, Elizabeth Boyle, Laura Lee Girk, and Stephanie Sloane. This was absolutely delightful. It is a story about 4 friends who meet while they're in boarding school. Of course, it's a historical, takes place during Regency times, and how they find this piece of sixpence silver. And each one, as they, of course, grow up, have their own weddings, and somehow this sixpence factors into meeting their significant others. And the stories are interwoven together. They are absolutely wonderful. I mean, Julia Quinn, of course, is a favorite author of mine and has been for a number of years. Elizabeth Boyle and Stephanie Sloane, I think this is the only stories I've read by these 2 authors at this point, and I do need to check out more. Laura Lee Girk I have read since, and I do really enjoy her work as well. But if you are a fan of historical fiction, or historical romance, excuse me, and you want something just light and delightful and cozy and full of friendship and romance and a little bit, because of the sixpence, of like magical realism, just a smidgen, if you will. This is definitely a book that you need to check out. Highly recommend it. You will love it if you love historical romance. And the last book I want to recommend to you guys is a cozy mystery. Cozy mysteries are great. Like, to me, they feel like books for the winter. Yes, you're getting that, like, oftentimes a murder, and, you know, it's not the most pleasant of aspects, but they are cozies. So it's murder done light. Murder light, if you will. And I know that there are a ton of cozy mystery series that are set in and around bake shops, but this one in particular just gives me that warm, cozy feeling, more so than even like the Hannah Swensen series by Joanne Fluke. And the book I want to recommend to you is called Brownies and Broomsticks, and this is by Bailey Cates. This is the first book in a magical bake shop mystery series. So you are getting your typical elements of a cozy mystery. You're getting a single female detective. She has just moved to Savannah, Georgia, and she is running a bake shop with her aunt and uncle, but it's a magical bakery. Because the twist in this series is that our main character, Katie, is actually a witch, excuse me, from a long line of witches. And there is, of course, that very magical element within this story because of the witchcraft. But it's just, it checks all the boxes of a great cozy mystery, in my opinion. Like I said, female detective or female amateur sleuth. She has a dog. I think it's a schnauzer, and his name is Mungo. And there is a cat. You know, there's the whole bakery, running her own business aspect of it. She's involved in a love triangle, which is very typical for a lot of cozy mystery series. But this one is really, really delightful, and I'm really loving reading through it. I think at this point now I'm on book 5 or 6, but obviously, excuse me, start at the beginning if you can. My library had all of these available on audio, and the audio of these are fantastic. Perfect to curl up on the couch with a hot chocolate and listen to a good audiobook. Maybe do a little bit of knitting or some crafting if you want to. Put it on while you're doing some baking. You know, or cooking dinner or something would be absolutely delightful as well. So yeah, I really love this series. It's not talked about very often, which is why I wanted to bring it up and mention it to you guys. But it's one that I've absolutely been loving. And honestly, as much as I'm enjoying the Hannah Swensen series, I think I enjoy this one just a tiny bit more, mostly because of that magical element. So anyway, guys, that is all that I have for this video today. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below, what teas would you like me to do? Are there any that you have favorites of that you would like me to kind of try my hand at giving you recommendations based off a tea? Or have you read any of the books that I just talked about, and what did you think about them? And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.